The first warning did not come as a loud crash. It arrived as a quiet feeling that refused to leave. In a city where success was admired and weakness was hidden, Donovan Carter stood at the highest point of his life and somehow felt uneasy. Atlanta moved with relentless energy every day. Ambition filled the streets, business deals were born over breakfast, and fortunes changed before sunset. Donovan understood that world better than most. At 30 years old, he had transformed a respectable family legacy into a powerful empire. Real estate developments stretched across the city. Technology investments multiplied beyond expectations. Strategic partnerships opened doors others could not even see. People respected him, some admired him. Others feared him, yet very few truly knew him. Before sunrise each morning, Donovan stood beside the towering glass windows of his mansion. The city spread before him beneath the fading darkness. His home reflected his personality perfectly, elegant but restrained, expensive but never excessive. White marble floors gleamed beneath soft lighting. Every detail carried purpose. He preferred it that way. Noise attracted attention. Attention attracted problems. Donovan hated problems. On that particular morning, he stood silently with a glass of water in his hand. His reflection stared back from the window, strong features, calm expression, sharp eyes that missed little. Behind those eyes, however, his mind never rested. Every possibility was examined. Every risk was measured. A gentle knock interrupted his thoughts. "Sir, breakfast is ready," a staff member announced. "I'll be down shortly," Donovan replied. He remained where he was for several more moments. Everything looked perfect. His businesses were thriving. His reputation was stronger than ever. His future appeared secure. So why did something feel wrong? The dining room carried the same refined elegance as the rest of the house. Fresh fruit, eggs, toast, and juice were arranged neatly on the table. Seated nearby was Vanessa, scrolling through her phone. She looked up immediately when he entered. A bright smile appeared on her face. "Good morning, baby," she said warmly. Vanessa possessed the kind of beauty that drew attention without effort. Her confidence filled every room she entered. She crossed the space gracefully and kissed him lightly. "You worked late again," she said. "Work never sleeps," Donovan replied. "That's because you never let it," she answered with a playful smile. For a few minutes everything seemed normal, comfortable, familiar. Yet Donovan observed details other people ignored. The brief delay before her smile reached her eyes. The way she checked her phone repeatedly. The subtle tension that appeared whenever certain conversations emerged. Small things, tiny inconsistencies. The kind most people overlooked. Donovan never overlooked patterns. "Have you thought about the wedding guest list?" Vanessa asked. "For the wedding," he replied calmly. She laughed. "Please don't tell me you've forgotten already." "I don't forget important things." "Good," she said. "This wedding has to be perfect. Everyone is talking about it already." Everyone. That word lingered. Donovan studied her quietly. "Are they?" "Of course they are. Do you know how many people want invitations? It's going to be the event of the year." She sounded excited, very excited, yet her excitement focused on attention, appearances, and admiration. Donovan viewed marriage differently. Marriage was not a public performance. It was trust. It was certainty. It was choosing one person when every advantage disappeared. Looking at Vanessa that morning, he suddenly wondered whether they wanted the same thing. The thought unsettled him. They had met at a charity event years earlier. He remembered every detail. She had approached him confidently while everyone else hesitated. Their conversation felt genuine. They spoke about goals, values, and dreams. He believed he had found someone who saw beyond money. Now he was no longer sure. Later that day, Donovan sat inside his home office reviewing business documents. A message arrived from an American partner. A major international deal was ready. His presence was required immediately. The opportunity promised enormous expansion. Most people would have focused only on the business. Donovan's mind moved elsewhere. A dangerous thought entered quietly. What if this trip could reveal more than financial opportunities? What if it could reveal the truth about the woman he planned to marry? He leaned back slowly. The idea grew stronger. If doubt existed, it needed answers. Marriage without certainty was a risk he would never accept. That evening, he found Vanessa relaxing in the living room. "I need to travel," he said. She looked up immediately. "Where?" "The United States. Business." "For how long?" "Several weeks." Something flickered across her face. Only for a second. "That's a long time," she said. "It's necessary." She nodded slowly. "I'll miss you. I'll be back before you know it." She smiled and rested her head against him later that night. "You won't forget about me while you're away, right?" she asked softly. Donovan looked down at her. "Impossible." She closed her eyes and smiled, but long after she fell asleep, Donovan remained awake. His eyes stared into the darkness. His mind calculated possibilities, every step, every reaction, every outcome. Outside, the city continued its restless rhythm. Cars moved endlessly through the night. Dreams were pursued. Fortunes were built. Inside the mansion, however, something had already changed. What appeared to be a perfect love story was about to face its first real test. And Donovan Carter was preparing to discover whether he possessed genuine love or a beautiful illusion. The departure morning arrived wrapped in quiet urgency. The sky above Atlanta carried soft shades of gray as dawn slowly pushed away the darkness. A cool breeze moved through the property while staff prepared for Donovan's departure. At the front entrance, a black luxury SUV waited with its engine running. Vanessa stood beside the doorway with her arms folded loosely across her chest. She watched him carefully as a staff member loaded his luggage. "You're really leaving this early?" she asked. Donovan adjusted his watch. "Traffic doesn't care how important someone is." She laughed softly. "You really think you're that important?" "I know exactly how important my schedule is." She smiled and stepped closer. For a brief moment, everything felt normal again. She straightened his collar gently. "Call me when you land." "I will." "And don't become too busy for me." Donovan met her eyes. "I won't." A pause followed. Small, almost invisible. Then she kissed him. It looked perfect. It felt perfect, yet something remained missing. Donovan entered the SUV and quietly watched her through the tinted window as the gates opened. The test had already begun. The flight to America gave him plenty of time to think. Business reports filled his tablet. Financial projections demanded attention. Contract negotiations required review. Normally, such matters would have occupied every corner of his mind. Instead, Vanessa remained there. Questions replayed repeatedly, memories resurfaced. Moments that once felt harmless now carried new meaning. The longer he thought, the more convinced he became. Something was wrong. He simply did not know what. America welcomed him with speed and efficiency. Meetings began immediately. Boardrooms replaced airplanes. Presentations replaced rest. Negotiations stretched long into the evenings. Donovan moved through every challenge with the same discipline that had built his success. Calm, focused, prepared. The deal exceeded expectations. Within weeks, contracts were signed, partnerships were finalized, expansion plans accelerated dramatically. The results transformed his financial standing completely. He crossed into billionaire territory. Many people spent entire lives chasing that milestone. Donovan barely celebrated. One evening, he sat alone inside his luxury hotel suite. The city lights shimmered outside enormous windows. The skyline looked beautiful. Yet victory felt strangely incomplete, because one question still remained unanswered. Vanessa. During the first week, she called constantly. She asked about his day. She told him she missed him. She wanted details about his meetings. Everything appeared normal. Then subtle changes emerged. The calls became shorter. The conversations felt distracted. Sometimes she missed his calls entirely. When she finally returned them, explanations arrived quickly. "I was busy. My phone died. I fell asleep." Reasonable excuses, believable excuses. Yet Donovan never evaluated single incidents. He evaluated patterns. The pattern was changing. That mattered. On his final evening abroad, Donovan stood before the mirror in his suite. His reflection appeared exactly the same: successful, composed, controlled. Inside, however, something had hardened. He understood what needed to happen next. Money revealed character, not because wealth changed people, because wealth removed obstacles. And losing wealth revealed even more. The return flight felt different from the first. He was not excited, he was focused. Every detail of his plan had been carefully constructed, every possible reaction considered. When he arrived home, Vanessa waited near the arrivals area. She looked beautiful. Elegant clothing, perfect makeup, a bright smile. She hurried toward him the moment she saw him. "I missed you," she said while embracing him tightly. "I missed you too," Donovan replied. For one brief moment he almost believed it completely. Almost. The drive home felt unusually quiet. Vanessa talked about social events, friends, parties, activities he missed. Donovan answered politely, nothing more. That evening, after dinner, they sat together inside the living room. The house had settled into peaceful silence. Vanessa scrolled casually through her phone. Donovan stood near the window. Darkness stretched across the property outside. Finally, he spoke. "Vanessa." She looked up. "What is it?" His voice remained calm, measured, controlled. "There's something I need to tell you." She sat upright immediately. "What happened?" Donovan turned toward her slowly. "I lost everything." The room became still. Vanessa blinked. "What do you mean?" "My money, my investments, everything." Confusion flooded her face. "Stop joking." "I'm not joking." Silence followed. Heavy silence. "How?" she asked quietly. "The deal failed." "I was deceived. Everything disappeared." She stared at him, completely motionless. "No, that's impossible." "It happened." Her breathing changed, her expression shifted. Concern appeared first, then disbelief. Then something else, something harder. "How much did you lose?" she asked. Donovan held her gaze. "All of it." The silence that followed felt different, colder, more calculating. She stood slowly. "What about the properties?" "Some will need to be sold." "The cars?" "Most of them." "The house?" "Possibly." Vanessa laughed nervously. There was no humor in the sound. "You're telling me you left wealthy and came back broke?" Donovan said nothing. He simply watched, observed, waited. "What are we supposed to do now?" she asked. "We adjust. We rebuild." "Rebuild?" The word sounded offensive to her. "Yes." She turned away, running a hand through her hair. "This is insane." Then she spun back toward him. "What about the wedding?" There it was. Not concern for him, not concern for their future. The wedding, the event, the spectacle. Donovan noticed immediately. "We'll postpone it," he said. Her face dropped. "Postpone it? Until things stabilize." Vanessa stared at him as though he had become someone else entirely. Distance appeared in her eyes, real distance, the kind that could not be hidden. That night they lay beside each other in silence, facing opposite directions. Neither slept comfortably, for very different reasons. Outside, the city continued moving forward. Inside the mansion, however, the first crack had finally appeared, and Donovan knew the next few days would reveal whether that crack led nowhere or shattered everything. The morning after Donovan revealed his financial collapse arrived with unusual silence. Sunlight streamed through enormous windows, illuminating polished floors and expensive furniture. Everything appeared unchanged. Yet nothing felt the same. The mansion still reflected wealth. The staff still moved carefully through hallways. The gardens remained immaculate, only the atmosphere had changed. Something invisible lingered in the air, something uncomfortable. Donovan woke before sunrise as usual. Routine had always grounded him. No matter what happened around him, discipline remained constant. He stepped onto the balcony overlooking the property. Morning mist drifted across the lawn. Security personnel changed shifts near the gates. Gardeners prepared for another day. Everything looked exactly as it had the week before. But Donovan was no longer watching his surroundings. He was watching people, specifically one person. And today would reveal much more. When he entered the dining room, breakfast was already prepared. Fresh fruit, coffee, toast, everything exactly as expected. Except Vanessa. She was not there. That immediately caught his attention. Normally she joined him every morning, especially after he returned from business trips. Today her chair remained empty. Donovan sat down without comment. He began eating quietly. 10 minutes passed, then 15, then 20. Still nothing. He never asked where she was. He never questioned the staff. People often revealed themselves most clearly when left alone. Eventually, Vanessa entered. Her appearance surprised him. No polished presentation, no bright energy, no warm greeting. She wore casual clothing and looked exhausted. "Morning," she said flatly. "Good morning," Donovan replied. Instead of approaching him, she walked directly toward the refrigerator. She poured herself juice, then leaned against the counter. Far away, emotionally and physically. Another detail noted. "Did you eat already?" she asked. "Yes." Silence followed, uncomfortable silence. The kind they never shared before. Finally, she spoke again. "Have you started making calls?" Donovan placed his fork down. "Calls to whom?" "Banks. Investors. Anyone who can fix this." Her voice carried noticeable frustration. "I'm handling it," he answered calmly. She scoffed. "Handling it? You lost everything. This isn't something you handle slowly." "I'm handling it." His tone remained steady. Hers did not. "You're too calm about this," she snapped, "and you're too anxious." Vanessa stared at him. "Of course I'm anxious. Do you understand what this means?" "Yes." "Then why are you acting like it isn't a disaster?" Donovan met her eyes. "Because panic never solves anything." That answer irritated her immediately. She shook her head. "I don't understand you anymore." Then she left. Donovan watched her disappear down the hallway. He understood her perfectly, and that understanding troubled him. The changes continued throughout the week, small at first, then impossible to ignore. Vanessa stopped joining him for breakfast entirely. She slept later, spent more time on her phone, left the house frequently, returned with vague explanations. Donovan never questioned her, never challenged her. He simply observed. Every detail mattered. The first serious argument arrived several days later. Like most arguments, it began with something small. Donovan sat inside his office, reviewing documents when Vanessa entered without knocking. "We need to talk," she said. He looked up calmly. "About what?" "This house." He leaned back slightly. "What about it?" "We can't keep living like this if you're broke." The word hit the room sharply. Broke. Not struggling, not facing challenges. Broke. Donovan noticed. Of course he did. "We're not moving immediately," he replied. "There are legal processes involved." "Processes?" she repeated. "Do you know how much it costs to maintain this place?" "Yes." "Then why are we still here?" "Because rushing decisions creates mistakes." Vanessa laughed bitterly. Interesting philosophy after losing everything. The criticism hung between them, sharp, intentional, personal. Still, Donovan remained calm. "What exactly are you trying to say?" he asked. She hesitated briefly, only briefly. "You should have been more careful." There it was, blame, clear, direct, unfiltered. Donovan studied her face. No concern, no encouragement, only disappointment. Not in the situation. In him. "Noted," he said. His response surprised her. "That's it? What else would you like me to say?" "I don't know. Something." She snapped. "This affects both of us." "Then act like it affects both of us, eh?" Donovan replied. The words struck harder than he intended. Vanessa immediately looked away. She had no answer. Instead, she turned toward the door. "I can't deal with this right now." Then she left. The office fell silent. Donovan remained standing alone. The clarity he sought was arriving faster than expected. By week's end, the mansion no longer felt like home. The laughter disappeared. The warmth vanished. Tension filled every room. Even the staff noticed. People spoke more quietly, moved more carefully, avoided lingering conversations. Vanessa changed most dramatically. She spent less time at home, sometimes leaving during the day, sometimes returning late at night, always offering simple explanations. Meeting friends, running errands, needed fresh air. Donovan accepted every explanation without resistance. That unsettled her more than any argument. One evening, she returned close to midnight. Donovan sat reading in the living room. He never looked up when she entered. "You're still awake?" she asked. "Yes." Another pause. "You didn't call." "No. You didn't even ask where I was." Now he looked at her. "I assumed you knew where you were." Her expression tightened. I could have been anywhere. And yet you're here. The answer frustrated her instantly. You're acting strange. For the first time, Donovan smiled slightly. No, I'm paying attention. Those 3 words changed everything. Vanessa looked uncomfortable. Genuinely uncomfortable. She broke eye contact immediately. I'm tired, she muttered. Then she disappeared into the bedroom. Donovan remained where he was, thinking, observing, understanding. For the first time since this began, Vanessa had avoided looking directly at him. That mattered. Later that night, he lay awake beside her. Her back faced him. The distance between them felt enormous. He remembered the woman he thought he knew, the supportive partner, the loyal companion, the future wife. Now he saw someone different, someone revealed through hardship, someone he barely recognized. As moonlight filtered through the bedroom windows, Donovan finally reached a decision. Words alone were no longer enough. The next stage of the test had arrived, and what he planned next would either prove Vanessa's love completely or destroy the illusion forever. By sunrise, the decision was final. The real test was about to begin. By the time Donovan decided to move forward with the next stage of his plan, the atmosphere inside the mansion had completely changed. The luxury remained. The expensive artwork still decorated the walls, the polished floors still reflected the morning sunlight. Yet the warmth that once filled the home had disappeared. What remained felt cold, distant, artificial. Donovan knew exactly why. On a quiet Monday morning, Vanessa sat in the living room scrolling through her phone. The television played softly in the background, though she barely seemed aware of it. Donovan entered wearing simple clothes. No designer suit, no executive image, no symbols of success. The choice was intentional. He wanted every change to feel real. We need to talk, he said. Vanessa barely looked up. About what? The house. That immediately caught her attention. She lowered her phone. What about it? Donovan remained calm. I've started the process of selling it. The words landed heavily. Vanessa sat upright. You're serious? Yes. For several seconds she simply stared at him. You're actually selling the mansion? Yes. Disbelief flooded her face. Donovan, that's insane. It's necessary. No, it isn't, she snapped. There are other options. Such as? She hesitated. Loans, connections, something. You don't just give up everything. Donovan studied her carefully. I'm not giving up. I'm adjusting. Vanessa laughed bitterly. Adjusting? This isn't adjusting. This is falling apart. Again she spoke as though the situation belonged only to him. Not them, not us. Him. The distinction mattered. Over the following weeks, the sale process moved forward. Potential buyers toured the property, inspectors arrived, documents were reviewed, meetings were scheduled. With every new development, Vanessa became more agitated, more impatient, more distant. The first undeniable sign appeared one evening. Donovan returned home expecting dinner. Instead, the kitchen sat completely empty. No preparation, no meal, nothing. That had never happened before. He found Vanessa stretched across the couch, watching videos on her phone. You didn't cook? He asked. She never looked up. I wasn't in the mood. Donovan paused. In the mood? Yes. Now she finally looked at him. I'm not your housewife. The words carried an edge, sharp and deliberate. Noted, he replied. That answer frustrated her immediately. She clearly expected an argument, a reaction, something. Instead, she received nothing. The sale eventually became official. The mansion was gone. Several luxury vehicles disappeared soon afterward. Most of the staff were dismissed. Only a few remained temporarily. The next step arrived quickly. They had to move. The apartment Donovan selected was modest, not terrible, not unsafe, simply ordinary. It sat inside a busy working-class neighborhood. Children played outside. Music drifted from nearby homes. Street vendors called to customers. Life existed openly there, unfiltered, honest. Vanessa looked horrified. She stood inside the doorway staring around the apartment. This is where we're living? Yes. You're serious? Very. She slowly turned in a circle. The worn walls, the small rooms, the lack of luxury, every detail seemed to offend her. "This place is suffocating," she whispered. "It's temporary." "How temporary?" "As long as necessary." That answer only made things worse. During the first few days, she tried, at least a little. She organized furniture, prepared meals occasionally, maintained appearances, but Donovan saw through it immediately. Nothing felt natural. Everything felt forced. People can pretend for a while, few can pretend forever. By the second week, the effort vanished completely. Vanessa stopped waking up early, stopped cleaning, stopped cooking, stopped caring. The apartment gradually reflected her attitude. Clothes piled up, dishes accumulated, the space felt neglected. One afternoon, she paced angrily across the living room. "You need to fix this," she said. Donovan looked up from his chair. "Fix what?" "This situation. This life. This is our life right now." "No," she corrected sharply. "This is your mistake." The words hung heavily between them. For the first time, Donovan felt something close to disappointment. Not because she hurt him, because she confirmed everything he feared. "You've changed," he said quietly. Vanessa laughed defensively. "I've changed. You're the one who lost everything." "I'm aware." "Then act like it." Her voice rose. "Do something. Be a man and fix it." The resentment was impossible to hide now. It filled every word, every expression, every glance. Donovan stood slowly. "I am doing something," he said. "Really?" she replied. "Because it looks like you're doing nothing." Her cruelty surprised even herself. He could see it, but she said it anyway. That night she never came home. For the first time, Donovan sat alone inside the apartment. Silence surrounded him. He never called, never texted, never asked questions, because he already knew. When she returned the following morning, she acted as though nothing had happened. "Where were you?" Donovan asked. She shrugged. "Out." "All night?" "Yes." "With who?" A brief pause. "Friends." The lie was obvious. Still, Donovan simply nodded. "Okay." That single word unsettled her. "You're not going to question me?" "No." "Why not?" Donovan met her eyes. "Because I'm paying attention." The familiar phrase returned, and once again, discomfort crossed her face. The distance between them widened daily. Conversations shortened, respect disappeared. Then came the moment that changed everything. One evening, Donovan entered the apartment and immediately noticed something different. Vanessa looked exceptional. Elegant dress, expensive jewelry, designer heels, costly perfume. Nothing about her appearance matched their supposed financial reality. "Where are you going?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Out." "With who?" Her expression carried quiet arrogance. "Does it matter?" Donovan said nothing, because in that moment he already understood. Vanessa walked past him toward the door, then paused. Without turning around, she spoke. "I can't keep living like this." There was no sadness in her voice, no emotion, only finality. The door closed behind her. The sound echoed through the apartment. Donovan stood alone in silence. Not angry, not broken, certain. The test was no longer producing questions, it was producing answers. And every answer pointed toward the same unavoidable truth. The woman he intended to marry was slowly disappearing. Or perhaps she had never truly existed at all. As darkness settled over the neighborhood, Donovan stared through the apartment window. For the first time since this began, he knew exactly what was coming. And he was ready for it. By the third week inside the apartment, all remaining illusions had collapsed. There were no more polite conversations, no more attempts to preserve appearances, no more carefully crafted smiles designed to hide disappointment. Everything had become painfully clear. The apartment itself reflected the state of their relationship. Laundry-covered chairs, dirty dishes crowded the sink. The air felt heavy. Neglect lingered in every corner. It was more than untidiness. It was surrender. Vanessa had stopped treating the apartment like a home because she no longer viewed their relationship as one. Donovan noticed every detail, yet he remained silent. Observation had become more valuable than confrontation. Every action revealed character. Every reaction exposed truth. One morning, Donovan woke before sunrise. The neighborhood outside was still quiet. A distant generator hummed softly. Cool air drifted through the cracked bedroom window. Beside him, Vanessa slept facing away from him. That position had become familiar, always facing away, always creating distance. Donovan sat up slowly. There was no anger left inside him, only clarity, the kind of clarity that arrives when hope finally disappears. By the time Vanessa woke up, Donovan was already seated in the living room, reviewing paperwork. She walked out carrying her phone. "You're up early," she muttered. "I always am." She dropped onto the couch without another word. The silence between them no longer felt unusual. It felt permanent. Several minutes later, she spoke. "I'm going out today." Donovan nodded. "Okay." She looked at him. "You're not going to ask where?" "No." The answer irritated her. He saw it immediately. "Interesting," she said quietly. Around noon, she left. This time, she made no effort to hide anything. Her appearance alone told a story. Designer heels, luxury accessories, a fitted dress worth more than several months of rent. Everything about her appearance reflected wealth. Everything about their apartment reflected struggle. The contrast was impossible to miss. Donovan watched from the window as she walked down the street. Then he saw the car. A bright red Ferrari. Its polished surface gleamed beneath the afternoon sunlight. The vehicle looked absurdly out of place in the neighborhood, like luxury dropped into the middle of reality. The passenger door opened. Vanessa entered. The Ferrari disappeared around the corner. Donovan never moved, never reacted, never spoke. But inside, another piece of the puzzle locked into place. She did not return that night, or the following night, or the one after that. 3 days passed. The apartment remained silent. Donovan stopped expecting her, stopped wondering, stopped caring. The answer had already revealed itself. Then came the knock, firm, confident, not hesitant, not uncertain. Donovan stood and walked toward the door. When he opened it, surprise never touched his face, because he already knew. Vanessa stood there. She was not alone. Beside her stood a tall man wearing an expensive suit. His posture radiated confidence, or perhaps arrogance. A pair of designer sunglasses rested on his face despite the fading daylight. Parked outside sat the same red Ferrari. The man smiled slightly, the kind of smile that expected admiration. Donovan stepped aside. "Come in." Vanessa entered first. Her heels clicked sharply against the floor. The man followed casually. His eyes moved around the apartment with obvious amusement. "This is where you live now?" he asked. Donovan ignored the question completely. Instead, he looked directly at Vanessa. Waiting, she crossed her arms. "This is Marcus," she said. Marcus nodded. "Nice meeting you." Donovan remained silent. Vanessa exhaled slowly, then went directly to the point. "I'm leaving you." The words filled the room, heavy, final, predictable. Donovan's expression never changed. "Okay." The response caught her completely off guard. "What do you mean, okay?" "It means I heard you." Frustration flashed across her face. "I'm serious." "I know. You're not even going to ask why." "No." "Why not?" Donovan tilted his head slightly. "Because the answer is obvious." That hurt more than she expected. For a brief moment, discomfort crossed her face. Then pride quickly replaced it. "I didn't sign up for this," she said, while gesturing around the apartment. "This life isn't for me." "I understand," Donovan replied. Marcus stepped forward confidently. His hand rested casually on Vanessa's shoulder. "She deserves better," he said. Donovan glanced at him briefly, then returned his attention to Vanessa. Then she should go find it. The answer shifted the atmosphere instantly. There was no jealousy, no desperation, no anger, only indifference. Somehow that upset her more. Vanessa reached into her purse. Slowly she removed her engagement ring, the ring that once symbolized promises, plans, a future. She stared at it briefly, then dropped it onto the table. The sound seemed louder than it should have. "I don't need this anymore." Donovan looked at the ring, then at her. Still nothing. No argument, no pleading, no attempt to stop her. Marcus looked bored. "Let's go," he said. Vanessa hesitated, only for a fraction of a second. But Donovan noticed. Of course he did. Then she turned away. Together they walked toward the door. Moments later, the Ferrari's engine roared outside. The sound faded into the distance, and then everything became quiet. Donovan stood alone in the apartment. For several moments, he never moved. Then slowly he walked toward the table. He picked up the ring. 2 years of promises rested in his palm, 2 years reduced to a single object. He closed his hand around it, not with sadness, with relief. The test was over. The result was undeniable. That evening, Donovan left the apartment and wandered through the neighborhood alone. Streetlights flickered above crowded sidewalks. People laughed outside small restaurants. Music drifted from nearby stores. Life continued normally. It always did. Eventually, he found himself sitting alone on an old wooden bench near the roadside. For the first time since this journey began, he allowed himself to feel the disappointment. Not disappointment in Vanessa, disappointment in what he believed about her. His head lowered. His hands rested on his knees. The successful businessman. The strategist. The man who controlled everything. For one brief moment, he simply looked tired. Then a gentle voice interrupted the silence. "Sir, are you okay?" Donovan looked up slowly. Standing before him was a young woman carrying a tray of oranges. Her clothes were simple, her appearance modest, but her eyes held something rare, genuine concern, not curiosity, not judgment. Concern, the kind that cannot be purchased, the kind that asks for nothing in return. And without realizing it, Donovan's life was about to change in a way he never expected. The afternoon sun hung low above the neighborhood, casting long golden shadows across narrow streets. Vendors called out to passing customers. Children chased a worn basketball across cracked pavement. Music drifted from open windows, blending with laughter and distant traffic. Life moved forward, simple, unfiltered, real. Donovan remained seated on the wooden bench where the young woman had approached him the previous evening. He had not intended to return. At least, that was what he told himself. Yet somehow his feet carried him back to the exact same place, the same bench, the same street, the same quiet corner where something unexpected had happened. His eyes followed people moving through their routines. Unlike the world he once inhabited, nobody here cared about status. Nobody knew his name. Nobody wanted favors. Nobody expected anything. The feeling was strangely peaceful. Then he heard her voice. "I knew I would find you here." Donovan looked up. The young woman smiled warmly. The tray of oranges rested effortlessly on her head. Sunlight illuminated her face as she approached. There was nothing dramatic about her appearance, nothing designed to attract attention. Yet Donovan immediately noticed her, more than he wanted to admit. "You came back," she said. "Looks that way," he replied. She laughed softly. The sound felt genuine, not practiced, not calculated, genuine, something he had not encountered in a long time. She carefully lowered the tray, then reached into a small bag beside her. "I brought something for you." Donovan frowned slightly. "For me?" She handed him a neatly wrapped container. "Food." He stared at it, confused. "Why?" The question seemed to surprise her. "Because you looked like you needed it yesterday." That was all. No hidden agenda, no expectation, no request, just kindness. Donovan accepted the container slowly. "You didn't have to do this." "I know." The simplicity of her answer left him speechless. He opened the container. Warm steam escaped immediately. The aroma filled the air. Nothing fancy, nothing expensive, just a homemade meal prepared with care. For reasons he could not explain, the gesture affected him deeply. "Thank you," he said. She smiled. "You're welcome." They sat together quietly. The silence felt comfortable, not awkward, not forced. Comfortable. Eventually she spoke. "My name is Maya." "Donovan." She nodded. "Nice to meet you, Donovan." No reaction, no recognition, no awareness of who he was. To her, he was simply a man sitting on a bench. The realization felt refreshing. For years, people had approached him because of his success, because of his influence, because of his money. Maya approached him because he looked troubled, nothing more. "What happened?" she asked gently. Donovan considered the question, then answered carefully. "I lost something important." She nodded slowly, as though she understood immediately. "Something you loved?" "Yes." Another quiet nod. That hurts. It does. Maya looked toward the street, watching children play, watching people move through life. Then she spoke again. People lose things every day. Donovan raised an eyebrow. That's supposed to help. She smiled. No, it's just true. The honesty caught him off guard. There was no attempt to offer meaningless comfort, no empty promises, just truth. What if you can't replace what you lost? He asked. Maya shrugged lightly. Then you learn how to live without it. The answer was simple, yet somehow powerful. Donovan studied her. She looked young, ordinary, yet she spoke with the calm wisdom of someone who understood hardship. You make it sound easy. It's not easy, she replied. A brief pause followed. But it's possible. Again, there was no drama, just truth. They talked longer than either expected. Hours seemed to pass unnoticed. The conversation flowed naturally, about life, about perseverance, about disappointment, about moving forward. For the first time in weeks, Donovan felt his mind relax. The constant pressure disappeared. The endless calculations stopped. He simply listened. As sunset painted the sky with shades of orange and purple, Maya finally stood. I should get going. Donovan nodded. Thank you for the food. You're welcome. She lifted her tray again, then paused. I'll bring more tomorrow. Donovan blinked. You don't even know where I live. Maya pointed down the street. I've seen you around. That surprised him. Before he could respond, she smiled. I'll find you. Then she walked away. Steady, confident, uncomplicated. Donovan watched until she disappeared around a corner. The evening breeze moved gently through the neighborhood. Streetlights flickered on one by one, yet Donovan remained seated, thinking. Not about Vanessa, not about betrayal, not about money, about Maya, about a stranger who had offered kindness without knowing anything about him. The following day, he found himself returning to the bench again. Earlier this time, he told himself it was coincidence. A convenient place to sit, nothing more. Deep down, he knew better. The sun softened gradually as evening approached. Minutes passed. Then he saw her. Maya appeared exactly when she promised, carrying her tray, carrying another container of food, and carrying the same warm smile. I told you I would find you, she said. Donovan smiled for the first time in days, a genuine smile, not forced, not polite, genuine. Looks like you did. Maya handed him the food. For you. Again? Again. He shook his head, almost laughing. You really don't have to keep doing this. I know. There was that answer again. Simple, honest. Impossible to argue with. As he opened the container and the aroma rose into the evening air, Donovan felt something shift inside him. Not dramatically, not all at once, quietly, like sunlight slowly breaking through clouds. Because sometimes healing does not arrive through grand moments. Sometimes it arrives through a stranger carrying food, kindness, and a smile that asks for nothing in return. And Donovan had a feeling this was only the beginning. What began as a simple act of kindness gradually became a routine neither Donovan nor Maya expected. Every evening, as the heat softened and shadows stretched across the neighborhood, they found themselves returning to the same wooden bench. The same street. The same moment. The same quiet connection. Days became weeks. Conversations became longer. Silences became easier. The distance between strangers slowly disappeared. Donovan noticed the change first. At least he admitted it to himself first. He started looking forward to seeing Maya. Not casually, not occasionally, intentionally. When business occupied his mind, thoughts of her still appeared. When meetings demanded attention, he occasionally found himself smiling unexpectedly. The realization unsettled him, not because he disliked it, because he had not felt anything like it in years. One evening, Maya arrived later than usual. The sun had nearly disappeared beyond the horizon. Streetlights flickered awake one by one. Donovan sat alone on the bench, waiting. When she finally appeared, she looked slightly out of breath. I'm sorry, she said. Today was busy. Donovan stood immediately. The action surprised both of them. It's okay, he replied. Maya studied his face. A smile slowly formed. You waited for me. He hesitated, then nodded. Yes. Something changed in her expression, not dramatically, just enough. "I'm glad," she said softly. The words lingered between them. Neither rushed to fill the silence. That evening, they did not sit immediately. Instead, they walked, side by side, along streets glowing beneath amber streetlights. Music drifted from nearby homes, laughter echoed from families gathering outside. The neighborhood felt alive, honest, warm. Maya glanced toward him. "Tell me something about yourself." Donovan smiled. "What do you want to know?" "Anything. A memory, a dream, something real." And he thought carefully, then spoke. "I spent most of my life believing that planning could solve everything." Maya listened quietly. "I believed that if you worked hard enough, prepared enough, and controlled enough variables, nothing could go wrong." "And now?" she asked. Donovan looked toward the darkening sky. "Now I know life doesn't care about plans." Maya nodded. "That's true." "You agree that easily?" "Because I've lived it." They continued walking. Their footsteps moved in quiet rhythm. "What about you?" Donovan asked. "What makes you who you are?" Maya smiled thoughtfully. "I wake up every morning and keep going." He laughed softly. "That's your answer?" "Yes." "Nothing more?" She stopped walking, turning toward him. "Of course I want more from life," she said, "but I don't let what I lack stop me from appreciating what I have." The statement struck him deeply because he had spent years chasing more success, more influence, more growth, more achievement. Maya seemed content without surrendering ambition. The balance fascinated him. Over the following weeks, their friendship deepened naturally. No pressure, no expectations, no hidden agendas, just genuine connection. One evening, rain began falling unexpectedly. At first, only a few drops touched the pavement. Then more followed. Soon the entire neighborhood glistened beneath a curtain of rain. Maya laughed, a bright, joyful laugh. "We should run," she said. Donovan remained where he was. Rain soaked his shirt. Water dripped from his hair. Still he smiled. "Why?" She stared at him. "Because we're getting drenched." "When was the last time you stayed?" "Stayed where?" "In the rain." Maya thought for several moments, then shook her head. "I don't remember." Donovan extended his hands. "Then stay." For a moment she simply looked at him. The rain continued falling. People hurried past, searching for shelter. Cars splashed through puddles. Thunder rumbled softly in the distance. Then Maya smiled, a beautiful, genuine smile. "Maybe you're right," and she stayed. The rain soaked them completely. Yet neither cared. They laughed, talked, walked slowly through the storm. For those few moments, nothing else seemed important. Later they found shelter beneath a small awning. Cool air surrounded them. Rain drummed steadily against metal rooftops nearby. Maya shivered slightly. Without thinking, Donovan removed his jacket. He placed it gently across her shoulders. She looked surprised. "You'll be cold." "I'll survive." Maya smiled. "Thank you." Their eyes met. Neither looked away immediately. The moment stretched. Quiet, meaningful, honest. For the first time, neither could pretend the connection between them was merely friendship. Something deeper existed now. Something undeniable. As the rain weakened and the evening grew darker, they prepared to leave. Maya lifted her tray, then hesitated. "Donovan?" "Yes?" She looked directly into his eyes. "I'm glad I met you." The words were simple, yet they carried extraordinary weight. Donovan stepped slightly closer. "So am I." A gentle silence followed. Then, without planning it, without analyzing it, without questioning it, he reached for her hand. Maya looked down briefly, then intertwined her fingers with his. She did not pull away. She did not hesitate. She simply held on. And in that moment, something new began. Not built on money, not built on status, not built on appearances, built on trust, built on kindness, built on something real. As they walked slowly through the rain-soaked streets, hand in hand, neither noticed the black luxury vehicle parked quietly across the road. Inside sat a man watching them carefully. Watching Donovan, watching Maya, watching everything. And the expression on his face suggested that a new surprise was about to enter their lives. Donovan noticed the black luxury vehicle the following evening. It sat parked across the street, partially hidden beneath the shade of an old tree. The windows were heavily tinted, making it impossible to identify whoever sat inside. Most people would have ignored it. Donovan did not. Years of business had sharpened his instincts. He noticed details, patterns, things others overlooked. Still, he chose not to mention it to Maya. There was no reason to worry her, not yet. The evening unfolded as usual. Children played basketball nearby. Neighbors sat outside discussing their day. The scent of grilled food drifted through the warm air. Maya arrived carrying her tray of oranges and her familiar smile. The sight immediately relaxed him. "You look serious today," she said. Donovan smiled slightly. "Do I? You do." She sat beside him. "What's on your mind?" He considered telling her about the vehicle. Instead, he shook his head. "Just thinking." Maya laughed softly. "You do that a lot. Occupational hazard. You never told me what your occupation actually was." The question lingered. Donovan felt a familiar weight settle inside him. Because despite everything they had shared, one enormous truth still stood between them. He had not told her who he really was, not completely. Every day that passed made the secret heavier. The lie had started as part of a test, a way to expose Vanessa. But now Maya existed in his life. And Maya deserved honesty. The realization followed him throughout the evening. It stayed with him after she left. It remained there the next morning. By afternoon, Donovan knew he could not delay much longer. Meanwhile, Maya experienced changes of her own. For weeks, she had tried convincing herself that her feelings remained simple. Friendship, concern, companionship, nothing more. But every time she saw Donovan, the truth became harder to ignore. She cared about him, deeply, more deeply than she intended. The realization frightened her, not because of Donovan, because life had taught her that happiness often arrived with a price. That evening, she found herself arriving earlier than usual. Donovan was already waiting. Their eyes met immediately. Neither could hide their smiles. "You're early," he said. "So are you." "Fair point." They laughed together. The ease between them had become natural, effortless. For a while they talked about ordinary things, neighborhood stories, funny customers, random observations. Then Maya grew quiet. Unusually quiet. Donovan noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" She looked down briefly. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." Her fingers tightened around the edge of the bench. "Do you ever feel like you're waiting for something bad to happen?" The question surprised him. "Why would you ask that?" Maya shrugged. "Because things have been good lately." "And that worries you?" "A little." She smiled sadly. "Life usually doesn't stay this peaceful for me." Donovan studied her carefully. There was vulnerability in her voice, a vulnerability she rarely revealed. "You deserve peaceful things," he said. She looked at him, really looked at him. The sincerity in his voice touched her. "You make it sound easy." "No," Donovan replied. "I make it sound true." For several moments neither spoke. The air felt different, charged, meaningful. Then Maya asked a question that changed everything. "What are you hiding from me?" Donovan froze, only slightly, but she noticed. "You have that look again," she said quietly. "The one you get whenever I ask about your past." His heart sank. Because she was right, he had never truly answered those questions. Not honestly, not completely. "Maya," she raised a hand gently. "You don't have to tell me now, Padisig." The disappointment in her eyes hurt more than anger ever could. "But someday you will have to trust me enough to be honest." The words stayed with him long after she left. That night, Donovan barely slept. Moonlight spilled through the apartment window. Traffic sounds echoed faintly from distant streets. His thoughts refused to settle. He remembered Vanessa, the lies, the deception, the betrayal. Then he remembered Maya, the honesty, the kindness, the trust. And suddenly he understood something painful. In trying to expose dishonesty in one person, he had created dishonesty with another. That realization cut deeply. The following evening, Donovan arrived at the bench before sunset. The sky glowed orange and gold. A gentle breeze moved through the neighborhood. He carried a decision with him. A difficult one, a necessary one. When Maya arrived, she immediately sensed something different. "What's wrong?" she asked. Donovan stood slowly. His expression was serious, determined. "I need to tell you something." Her smile faded. "Okay, not here." Concern appeared in her eyes. "You're scaring me." "That's not my intention." He took a slow breath. "But you deserve the truth." Those words instantly changed the atmosphere. Maya's heart began racing. Because somewhere deep inside, she already knew. Whatever Donovan was about to reveal would change everything. And judging by the look in his eyes, there would be no going back afterward. The drive felt longer than it actually was. Maya sat quietly in the passenger seat, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Streetlights reflected across the windshield as the city moved around them. Neither spoke much. Too many questions existed. Too many possibilities. Donovan kept his eyes on the road. His expression remained calm, yet beneath that calmness, tension lingered. For the first time in years, he was stepping into a situation without certainty. Business deals never frightened him. Competition never frightened him. Risk never frightened him. Losing Maya did. The realization surprised him. Eventually, the vehicle slowed. Large iron gates appeared ahead. Tall, elegant, impressive. Maya frowned immediately. "Where are we?" Donovan remained silent. The gates slowly opened. Her eyes widened. The vehicle rolled forward. A massive estate emerged beyond the entrance. Perfect landscaping, fountains, luxury vehicles, security personnel. The mansion stood illuminated against the evening sky like something from another world. Maya stared in disbelief. The car stopped. Silence filled the space. Neither moved. Finally, she turned toward him. "What is this?" Donovan closed his eyes briefly, then looked at her. "The truth." Confusion spread across her face. "Whose house is this?" "Mine." The single word hit harder than any explanation. Maya blinked, then blinked again. "No. Yes. Donovan, it's mine." The world seemed to stop. Everything they had built suddenly felt uncertain. Every conversation, every memory, every shared moment. Maya stepped out of the vehicle slowly. Her eyes moved across the property, trying to understand, trying to connect two completely different realities, the man from the apartment, the man standing beside a mansion. Neither version made sense anymore. "You told me you lost everything," she said quietly. "I know." "You told me you were rebuilding your life." "I know." "You lied to me." The words landed heavily. Donovan never defended himself, never interrupted, never argued. "Yes," he said. The honesty only made it hurt more. Maya laughed bitterly, not because she found anything funny, because disappointment often sounds like laughter before it becomes pain. "Why?" Donovan looked toward the mansion, then back at her. "Because I needed to know whether someone loved me or my money." Maya stared at him, "And I became part of that test." "No." "Really?" Her voice cracked slightly. "Because that's exactly how it feels." Donovan took a step closer. "You were never the test." "Then why lie to me?" He struggled for an answer, for perhaps the first time in his life. Words failed him. "Because after what happened, I stopped trusting people." Maya looked away. The hurt in her eyes was impossible to hide. "And now you expect me to trust you?" The question struck deeply. Because it was fair, because it was true, because he had no perfect response. "No," he admitted. She looked surprised. "No, I don't expect anything." The evening breeze moved softly through the property. Somewhere in the distance, water flowed from a fountain. The world felt strangely quiet. "I just couldn't keep lying to you," Donovan continued. "Not anymore." Maya folded her arms, trying to protect herself, trying to process everything. How much of anything was real? The question terrified him, more than he expected. "Everything," he answered immediately. "The conversations, the bench, the rain, the food you brought me, every feeling I had. All of it was real." Maya shook her head. "I don't know what to believe anymore." The words hurt because he understood them completely. Trust had been broken. Not shattered beyond repair, but damaged. And damaged trust heals slowly. "I deserve that," Donovan said quietly. The admission surprised her. She expected excuses, defenses, justifications. Instead, she found accountability. For several moments, neither spoke. The silence felt heavy, honest. Necessary. Then Maya looked directly at him. Did you ever think about what this would do to me? The question cut deeper than any accusation because the answer was painful. Not enough. Tears filled her eyes. Not dramatic tears, not angry tears, disappointed tears, the kind that come when someone important lets you down. You made me believe you were someone else. I know. And now everything feels different. I know. Again, the honesty offered no comfort, only truth. The sky darkened above them, stars slowly emerged. Neither noticed. Both remained trapped inside the moment. Finally, Maya stepped back, creating distance, physical distance, emotional distance, the distance that appears when trust is wounded. I need time, she said softly. Donovan nodded, his chest tightened, yet he never tried stopping her, never tried convincing her. Because love without freedom becomes control, and he cared about her too much for that. Take all the time you need. Maya studied him one final time, searching for certainty, searching for answers, searching for the man she thought she knew. Then she turned, walking slowly toward the gates. Each step felt heavier than the last. Donovan remained where he stood, watching, waiting, powerless. For the first time in years, he faced a situation money could not solve, strategy could not solve, influence could not solve, only time could. As Maya disappeared beyond the gates, Donovan finally understood something important. The greatest risk he had ever taken was not in business. It was opening his heart. And now he had no idea whether that risk would reward him or break him. But far beyond the gates, as Maya walked away beneath the night sky, she reached into her bag and pulled out something she had carried for days. It was the small handwritten note Donovan once left inside one of the food containers. She stared at it for several seconds, then held it tightly against her chest. And for the first time since learning the truth, she began to cry. Time moved differently after Maya left. Days passed, then weeks. The city continued its endless rhythm. Traffic filled the streets, businesses opened and closed. People chased opportunities, life refused to pause. Yet for Donovan, everything felt quieter. For the first time in years, he found himself facing something he could not control. He never called Maya, never sent messages, never tried convincing her. Every instinct told him to act, to fix the situation, to find a solution. But this was different. Trust could not be negotiated. Trust could not be purchased. Trust had to heal naturally. Meanwhile, Maya struggled with her own thoughts. Every morning she carried her tray of oranges through familiar streets. Every afternoon she greeted customers. Every evening she returned home exhausted. From the outside, nothing seemed different. Inside, however, everything had changed. She missed him. That truth became impossible to deny. Not the wealthy businessman, not the owner of the mansion. The man who sat beside her on a wooden bench. The man who listened. The man who laughed in the rain. The man who looked at her as though she mattered. Yet the hurt remained, because trust, once broken, leaves a mark. One evening, Maya found herself walking through the neighborhood where everything began. The air felt cool, the sky carried soft shades of orange and purple. Without realizing it, her feet led her toward the old wooden bench. She stopped. The bench remained exactly where it had always been. Weathered, ordinary, unremarkable, yet it held memories she could not escape. A faint smile appeared, then faded. I miss you too. The voice came from behind her. Maya froze. Slowly she turned. Donovan stood several feet away, his hands rested in his pockets. His expression looked calm, but his eyes revealed everything. Hope, fear, love. For several moments neither moved, neither spoke. The world around them seemed distant. Finally, Maya broke the silence. You followed me? Donovan smiled slightly. Actually, I come here sometimes. She looked at the bench, then back at him. Me too. The admission surprised both of them. A small silence followed, gentler than before, less painful, more honest. How have you been? Donovan asked. Maya laughed softly. That's a dangerous question. Why? Because the answer changes every hour. He nodded. Mine too. For the first time, she noticed something different about him. The confidence remained, the strength remained. But there was humility now, a softness she had never seen before. "You really didn't contact me," she said. "You asked for time. Most people wouldn't have respected that. I'm not most people." The answer made her smile, a genuine smile, the first one he had seen from her in weeks. Donovan felt hope stirring inside him, carefully, cautiously. "Maya," he said quietly. She looked at him. "I was wrong." The words surprised her. "About what?" "About many things." He took a slow breath. "I thought protecting myself justified dishonesty." "It didn't." "I know." There was no defense in his voice, no excuse, only accountability. "I hurt you." "Yes," Maya said softly. "And I'm sorry." The apology felt different from others she had heard. Not polished, not strategic, real, the kind that comes from understanding consequences. She studied him carefully. The evening breeze moved gently through the trees, streetlights flickered to life nearby. Children laughed somewhere in the distance. Life continued moving around them. Yet neither seemed aware of it. "Do you know what upset me most?" Maya asked. "What?" "It wasn't the money." "I know. It was that you didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth." Donovan lowered his eyes briefly. "You're right." Silence followed. Then Maya stepped closer. Only one step, but it changed everything. "And do you know what kept bothering me afterward?" He looked at her. "What?" A small smile touched her lips. "Even after I found out, I still missed you." For the first time, Donovan laughed. A genuine laugh, warm, relieved, human. Maya laughed too. The tension that had haunted them finally began to dissolve. Not completely. Healing takes time. But enough to move forward, enough to begin again. "So where does this leave us?" Donovan asked. Maya pretended to think. "Well, you still owe me several explanations." "Fair. And rebuilding trust won't happen overnight." "Fair. And I'm still angry sometimes." "Also fair." She smiled. "Good." Another quiet moment passed, then she extended her hand. The same simple gesture that once began everything. Donovan looked at it, then at her. "What is this?" A second chance. His heart nearly stopped. Slowly he took her hand. This time neither hesitated. The city lights shimmered around them. The evening sky darkened above, and somewhere between heartbreak and healing, they found something stronger than before. Not perfection, not fantasy, something real. Months later, the wooden bench remained part of their story. Sometimes they visited it together. Sometimes they sat there in silence. Sometimes they laughed about how unlikely everything seemed. Donovan learned that love could not be tested like a business deal. Maya learned that forgiveness requires courage. Both learned that honesty matters more than appearances. And both discovered that the most valuable things in life are often found when everything else falls apart. The mansion still existed, the businesses still thrived. Success still followed Donovan. But none of those things mattered as much anymore, because wealth could build houses. It could buy comfort. It could create opportunities, yet it could never replace trust. It could never replace loyalty, and it could never replace genuine love. As they walked away from the bench together beneath the evening stars, Donovan realized something simple. The greatest blessing in his life arrived only after he stopped looking for it. And Maya realized something too. Sometimes the right person enters your life at exactly the moment you need them most. Not to save you, but to help you become the person you were meant to be. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, your viewing location, and share this video.